World War III is 99% loaded, yo. 再省1%, and for the entire world, 大起大掉.
Everybody gonna die.
And you think it's Iran doing the loading? Nah, bruh. It's actually this guy, Benjamin Netanyahu. Oh, and by the way, fun fact, I love Israel. I love the Jews. I love Gal Gadot. I love Albert Einstein and shit. And even though I'm not religious, I love Jesus.
Nobody fucks with the Jesus.
But I have some serious hardcore beef for Israel's current Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu. And after this episode, you will clearly understand why this one man is extremely dangerous. Not to just America, not just to the entire Middle East, not just even Taiwan, but for the entire world. Because for him, World War III will set him free. So, 准备打爆米花 and a side order of hummus, because for this episode, 真的是大起大掉. So, yesterday, the Iranian regime tortured and hung a 19-year-old professional wrestler, all for showing up to a protest, and he didn't even do any protesting. So, before we really kick off this episode, let's make one thing clear. The Iranian regime must go. They are complete total pieces of shit. The way I see it, America and Israel strikes taking out all these asshole leaders is a very good thing, keeping civilian casualties minimal and asshole casualties maximum. But there just happens to be one guy who doesn't really like this idea. And the way I see it, he is also a part of Team Asshole.
Unfortunately and unhappily, Jesus Christ has no advantage over Genghis Khan.
Enter in today's antagonist, Benjamin Bibi Netanyahu, the world's first Israeli-born and longest-serving Israel Prime Minister. Now, considering the geography, this guy should be very pro-Jesus, but it sounds like he is very pro-Genghis Khan. Those words coming out of his mouth showed the world exactly who he is. Because Jesus tried to save everyone, but Genghis Khan, he tried to kill and conquer everyone. And when Bibi talks about Iran, it sounds like he just wants to take everyone out.
This particular area that we're talking about now, Israel, is a land that God gave through Abraham to a people that he chose. It was a people, a place, and a purpose. We can look at it that way.
And so it is entirely fair for me with respect to ask, what land are you talking about? Because I just read Genesis 15, as I have many times. Mm-hmm. And that land, I think it says, from the Nile to the Euphrates, which is, once again, basically the entire Middle East. So you're saying he did. What does that mean? Does Israel have the right to that land? Because you're appealing to Genesis.
Yeah.
You're saying that's the original deed.
It would be fine if they took it all.
Nigga, I don't really know,
Now this is the American ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee, and he happens to be a really good friend of Bibi Netanyahu. And you can see in real time that Bibi's Khan-like ruthlessness has infected a lot of high-ranking American politicians and officials. And the way I see it, this is really, really bad for America.
The Pentagon has ordered the USS Tripoli and approximately 2,500 Marines from the Indo-Pacific toward the Middle East, a significant escalation of American force posture in the region.
A few moments later.
More than 2,000 more Marines have just set sail from San Diego, likely headed to the Middle East. That's in addition to the 2,000 expected to arrive there next week.
So it seems like there are just under 5,000 Marines headed to the Strait of Hormuz right now. And this is a very clear sign of the almost completely loaded World War III, because things are escalating really, really fast.
So the escalation trap starts with stage one, the smart bombs that hit targets, destroy targets, kill leaders, but don't achieve the strategic objectives. They did not weaken the regime, topple the regime. They didn't even move the regime to a dovish position. The regime is more hawkish, more dangerous now than ever because the new leaders are just desperate to attack more. Also, the power of Iran has grown. So Iran in the last 19 days has grown from controlling 4% of the world's oil to now 20% of the world's oil. In fact, in the last 19 days, Iran has been shipping its oil out. It's made somewhere around $1.5 billion. So think about that, all that money to rebuild everything. And it's in Chinese banks, so we can't get it out. Now we're in stage two, though. They've lashed back. I call that horizontal escalation. And this is what's been going on now for weeks. And it's not spasmodic. They're not running out of ammo. And now the price of oil here is soaring. So we're in stage two, very deeply. We're in Iran, that horizontal escalation, it's economic warfare. It's going after the economic pillars of the Gulf states and the world, especially America, of course, and also the political pillars. And this is a long war strategy, an asymmetric strategy. They are not going toe-to-toe with us in conventional battles. That's why you can take the Iranian Navy off the table. It just doesn't matter. Okay? What's going on is they are not losing. They are gaining power in stage 2. And that is sucking us toward stage 3. We're not there yet. That's the ground force options. The Marines are about 7-10 days away, but middle of next week, there's a good chance we'll be on the cusp of major decisions here to cross that Rubicon of stage 3. This has really become an escalation trap that's become a strategic disaster for the United States, for the administration for sure, but also now for the world.
Now, I gotta go today, home. This isn't just bad news for America. This is bad news for us right here in Taiwan. Because I think we can all agree that there's at least 2 places on planet Earth that absolutely need America's protection. The first is Israel, and the second is Taiwan. Shit, the way I see it, the Taiwanese government is like the smart, quiet kid in school who gets bullied by everyone. The Israeli government is like that kid in school with 2 big black friends who won't give a moment's hesitation to start a fight with anybody.
What? Little Prompt, what you gonna do? What you gonna do?
And it's all because of this guy. He is the kid at school trying to bring everyone into his own fight. And you want to know why?
The International Criminal Court has said it is seeking arrest warrants for Israel's Prime Minister and top Hamas leaders for war crimes for their part in the Gaza war. The ICC prosecutor alleges there is evidence to suggest Mr. Netanyahu and his Defense Minister Yoav Gallant had used starvation as a method of warfare against civilians.
Let's start with the first case called Case 1000. In this case, Netanyahu and his wife Sarah are alleged to have received almost $300,000 worth of expensive gifts like fancy cigars and champagne in exchange for political favors from businessmen over the span of 10 years. The next case is Case 2000. In this one, police say they have evidence that implicates Netanyahu in a conspiracy with Adnan Moses, the owner of the daily newspaper Yadiot Achronot. Police say the 2 men agreed to a mutually beneficial relationship that was not in the public's best interests. Now, on to Case 3000. This case revolves around alleged corruption and bribery in the state purchase of German nuclear submarines. Police allege that some of Netanyahu's closest confidants used their influence to negotiate the deal and skim profits off the top. Here's the thing, Netanyahu's personal lawyer also represents the Israeli agent of the same German shipyard that makes the submarines.
Now, the way I see it, the Iranian regime is dangerous to the Middle East, but especially dangerous to the Iranian people. But for Benjamin Netanyahu, this nigga is dangerous to the entire world, Taiwan included. So to me, this nigga has got to go.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has made a formal request for a pardon on corruption charges. It came in a letter submitted to President Isaac Herzog. Netanyahu has been on trial on charges of bribery, fraud, and breach of trust in connection with 3 separate cases. He has repeatedly denied any wrongdoing. And earlier this month, U.S. President Donald Trump had sent a letter to Herzog, formally urging him to, quote, fully pardon Netanyahu.
Shit, even Bibi himself knows he's got to go. This is the first time in the entire country's history that a sitting prime minister has asked a president for a pardon. Do you know just how bad that is? That's like a young son going home to confess some horrible that he did to his dad, and he says,
"Hey dad, I did some really bad, horrible shit. But before I tell you, I need you to first promise not to kick my ass. Sign here, please." And did it.
Daddy, chill. What the hell is even that?
So let's recap real quick. Bibi is the guy who's heavily channeling Khan more than Jesus, and he is facing charges for a lot of horrible shit, not just in his own country, but in the international court. And in spite of all this, he had the balls to ask for a pardon from the president while he's still in office. For him, World War III spells get out of jail free.
Israel's announcement to seize Gaza has sparked its fiercest international backlash yet. And at home, anger is boiling over, fueling some of the largest protests since the 2023 Hamas-led attacks that ignited the war. Earlier at another rally, more families of hostages warned Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu that they will hold him accountable in any way they can.
Came to point a blaming finger at Netanyahu that utilizes war for his political reasonings. His policy of forever war in Gaza, in Lebanon, now in Iran, serves his interest of staying in power while sacrificing our safety, our security, and the future of Israelis and the future of the entire Middle East.
Now check this. Before the Iran strikes, Bibi's approval rating in Israel was less than 40%. In short, they wanted that nigga gone yesterday. But since those Iranian airstrikes, his approval rating sits at just under 70%. This nigga went and created an international crisis to overshadow his personal and domestic crisis. And let's be real, 效果真的很好 eh.
If we can just begin by this this initial attack that we've seen by Israel on Iran's facility, that South Pars LNG facility, the largest in the world.
79% of Iran's total generation of power comes from natural gas. So this is really hitting the ability for Iran to keep the lights on, really both metaphorically and quite literally. All of this stuff is traded on a global market. And if we're seeing supplies lost in one part of the world, that's going to drive up costs for the whole globe.
So, Netanyahu went and struck the world's largest natural oil and gas facility, bringing this war to a level of escalation unprecedented. And you want to know why?
Basically, for context, the United States made it clear they were not going to target Iran's energy infrastructure. Israel ignored this and carried out yet another attack. Then Iran retaliated on Qatar's own energy facilities, causing dozens of billions in damages.
So the way I see it, Netanyahu is a goddamn wild card. Because America, they just want to do some strikes, pew pew pew, bang bang bang, regime change. Because like I said before, the Iranian regime has got to go.
You need to leave!
But Bibi is escalating the situation by attacking energy and civilian targets, causing civilian tragedies without even telling his main partner leading on this one, America. And I'm willing to bet that when it comes to Bibi Netanyahu right now, what Trump is thinking?
You need to leave!
Man, this situation is so bad that an American hero and one of America's highest-ranking intelligence officials can't even stand it.
Tonight, the administration's top counterterrorism official resigning in protest over President Trump's war with Iran, declaring Iran posed no imminent threat to our nation. Joe Kent, director of the National Counterterrorism Center, writing, "I cannot in good conscience support the ongoing war in Iran. It is clear that we started this war due to pressure from Israel and its powerful American lobby."
This is Joe Kent, the former U.S. director of the National Counterterrorism Center. This guy literally spent 20 years and 11 tours fighting in all the wars directly and indirectly connected to Iran. Even his own wife died fighting these pieces of shit. But this guy, who had one of the highest security clearances just under the president in America, couldn't stand what Bibi was doing.
Look, in the lead up to the 12-day war, we were having very robust debates that were part of the National Security Council process. The principal small group, we'd have the deputies committee meetings, we'd have very robust debates with all 18 intelligence agencies, with the Joint Chiefs staff. That played out over the course of about a month in the lead up to the 12-day war. And to include that ahead of Midnight Hammer, where a lot of us said, okay, fine, if you bomb these sites, that's all well and good. We take out Iran's ability to enrich. That meets our strategic objective. Problem is the Israelis are going to come right back to us in a couple months and demand more because their goal is regime change. Like, they're not beating around the bush about this. And so that was known. And so from my optic in the lead up to this last iteration, that process didn't play out.
I mean, look, the Israelis are tactically very proficient.
Yes.
They have a very competent intelligence service. And there's a lot that we can learn from them in the craft of intelligence.
Yes.
So they're very proficient, they're very good. However, whenever we get information from a liaison service, I think it's incredibly important to realize that it could be given to us to influence us as well as to inform us. It did seem like Benjamin Netanyahu was, obviously it was all public that he was in the White
7
House.
times.
Quite a bit, yeah, quite a bit. And then his other officials as well. Just a lot of engagement from them. And again, when we would hear, or you'd hear what they were saying, it didn't reflect in intelligence channels. Even intelligence that we shared with the Israelis were giving us.
So basically what he is saying is that Bibi persuaded Trump that Mossad is a way better intelligence agency than the American version of Li Ning-chi, and it ain't no secret that the decision to strike Iran was all Bibi's idea.
I just feel like there was a wall put up around President Trump so that he was not getting a wide variety of options. And so that he was kind of existing, unfortunately, in this echo chamber where you had highly influential members of the Israeli government that would come to President Trump in an official, unofficial capacity, or members of his very inner circle. And they did a very effective job of moving a key red line. President Trump has always said that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. And as a matter of fact, the former supreme leader since 2004 had said the same thing, that Iran will not get a nuclear weapon. So the Israelis knew that actually this was very dangerous for the Israeli agenda, because the Israelis wanted regime change, and they saw that President Trump and the Ayatollah basically had a place where they could start negotiations. So the Israelis very, very effectively took the policy of no enrichment, and they breathed life into that, and they basically made that into the U.S. policy by having their unofficial folks come in and say, hey, it's really the enrichment, that's the issue. And then they would have that echoed in their pro-Israel media apparatus here in the United States. And so that was kind of all the president was hearing. And so I wanted to be able to express that to the president. And I felt like I was kind of out of options to do that from the inside. And so having to go this route was the best course of action. I think right now we're in a crisis. And what I want the president to know is that right now, I mean, probably for the next, hopefully 2 weeks, but maybe even less time. He has time to turn this thing around. My goal is it's really clear. It's to hopefully get through to the president, either myself or to have enough public pressure that we change course here in the next couple of weeks and we walk back from the abyss.
Now, let me remind you, this guy has fought in nearly every single American war over the past 20 years. And his wife died in one of those wars, which was instigated by Bibi. He is literally fucking John Rambo and Captain America combined. And even he thinks boots on the ground in Iran is a nightmare for America.
Prime Minister, given the escalation of attacks on US allies across the Gulf, given the spiraling energy costs, the US service personnel killed in this war, many Americans are asking that question, whether you misled their government into starting this war, and for how long should Americans keep paying the price?
Well, I misled no one. As far as oil prices rising, spikes, you know what a spike is? It goes up and goes down. The Americans are working very hard to open the straits, and if they succeed, then oil prices will come down. I talked to many American friends. They're not clueless. They understand this. Some don't. They said, let's stay out of this. It's not our war. It's not our problem. Maybe it's only the Jews.
God damn. I am absolutely impressed. I mean, this guy plays the race card better than me.
My nigga.
And do you notice during his entire response, he never mentioned what Israel would do to solve this? He only mentions what America needs to do. This response is chill as fuck. It's like the kid in school who convinces his friend to punch the bully in the face and then stands on the sidelines with his cell phone filming the two and then telling his friend, "You better be careful." And just yesterday, Trump sent another 2,500 Marines to the Strait of Hormuz, all because that's what Bibi wants. Because he's the guy who needs World War III to get out of jail. So if you ask me, in the next couple of days,
Jesus Christ has no advantage over Genghis Khan.